You're making at least 3 of these 12 motorcycle battery mistakes right now, and they're slowly killing your bike without you even knowing it. Every single time you turn that key and hear that weak crank, you're one step closer to being stranded in a parking lot, missing that perfect riding day, or worse, damaging your bike's electrical system beyond a simple battery replacement. Here's what nobody tells you though. Most of these mistakes aren't even in the owner's manual. However, the battery industry's been keeping certain truths from riders for decades because, frankly, they make more money when you keep replacing batteries every 18 months instead of getting 5 years out of them. Mistake 1. Letting your battery drop below 12.4 volts. The magic number that separates a healthy battery from a dying one is 12.4 volts, and most riders have no idea this threshold even exists. Drop below this voltage and you permanently lose about 20% of your battery's capacity. That Yuasa YTX14BS sitting in your bike is rated for 300 to 500 charge cycles, but let it drop below 12.4 volts just 5 times, and you've cut its lifespan in half. The lead sulfate crystals harden into permanent structures that can't be reversed, a process called sulfation that's basically battery cancer. Modern fuel-injected bikes draw 25 to 100 milliamps constantly, even with the ignition off, killing a battery in about 2 weeks. The controversial truth is that trickle chargers can actually make this worse if they're not smart chargers. You need a maintainer that reads voltage and stops charging at 13.8 volts, not one that just dumps current continuously. Now, here's what really gets interesting about proper battery voltage maintenance going forward. Mistake 2. Running conventional batteries in high-performance bikes. This one's going to ruffle some feathers because conventional flooded batteries are significantly cheaper. But if you're running anything over 75 horsepower, you're asking for trouble. Modern sport bikes and touring rigs pull 30 amps with heated grips, GPS units, and advanced ABS. And conventional batteries weren't designed for this demand. A standard flooded battery, like the Yuasa YB114LA2, has internal resistance around 8 to 12 milliohms, while an AGM like Yuasa YTX14AHLBS drops that to about 4 milliohms. This means AGM batteries deliver burst currents of 300 amps versus 200 amps from conventional batteries. I've seen riders blow main fuses repeatedly because their conventional battery couldn't handle the inrush current from aftermarket sound systems combined with heated gear. AGM batteries handle vibration infinitely better because the electrolyte is absorbed in glass mat separators instead of sloshing around freely. The dirty secret is that lithium batteries, despite costing 3 times as much, don't actually last 3 times longer unless you're religious about temperature management. But wait until you hear about the terminal mistake that's probably happening on your bike right now. Mistake 3. Treating corrosion as a cosmetic issue. That blue-green crusty buildup around your battery terminals isn't just ugly, it's creating an insulating barrier that reduces charging efficiency by up to 40%. Battery terminal corrosion is copper sulfate formation caused by hydrogen gas reacting with the copper terminals, creating electrical resistance that prevents proper current flow. The corrosion creeps under the terminal connection and creates microscopic gaps between the lead post and copper terminal. A clean connection should measure less than 0.01 ohms of resistance, but corroded connections can measure 0.1 to over 1 ohm, forcing your alternator to work overtime. This increased resistance generates heat through I²R losses, and that heat accelerates more corrosion in a vicious cycle. The proper fix requires removing terminals completely, cleaning both posts and clamps with a wire brush until you see bright metal, then coating everything with dielectric grease or CRC battery terminal protector. The controversy is that many mechanics recommend petroleum jelly or regular grease, but these products trap moisture and worsen corrosion over time. Speaking of maintenance routines, there's another oversight that's costing riders hundreds in premature battery replacements. Mistake 4. Skipping battery tender connection during winter storage. Here's a truth that'll save you $200 every spring. A battery tender isn't optional for winter storage. It's absolutely essential. When you park your bike without a tender connection, you're gambling on self-discharge that happens at 3 to 5% per month. faster if it's cold. Over a 4-month winter, you'll wake up to a dead battery sitting at low voltage, accelerating permanent crystal formation. The mistake isn't just failing to use a tender, it's using the wrong kind or connecting it incorrectly. A float charger like the Battery Tender Plus or C-Tech MXS 5.0 monitors voltage and only provides current when it drops below 12.6 volts. Most riders clip the tender to terminals directly, creating a fire hazard if clips become loose. The proper installation uses a permanently mounted, quick disconnect pigtail with ring terminals. What battery manufacturers don't advertise is that using a quality tender can extend battery life from 2 or 3 years to 5 or even 7 years. Now, let's talk about a charging mistake that's probably happening in your garage right now. Mistake 5. Using automotive battery chargers on motorcycle batteries. This is probably the most common battery-killing mistake, and it stems from riders thinking any charger will do. Automotive battery chargers are designed for 50 to 100 amp hours, while motorcycle batteries sit between 10 and 20 amp hours. The safe charging rule is never exceed 10% of the battery's amp hour rating. So, for a typical 14 amp hour battery, that's a maximum of 1.4 amps. Most automotive chargers start at 2 amps minimum, and many go up to 10 or 15 amps. Forcing current that causes electrolyte to heat rapidly and accelerates grid corrosion. I've personally seen batteries start bubbling because someone used a 10 amp automotive charger overnight. Internal plates in motorcycle batteries are thinner than automotive batteries, so excessive charging current can warp these plates, causing short circuits. Voltage regulation is another issue because automotive chargers push voltage to 14.8 or 15 volts, but AGM motorcycle batteries should never exceed 14.7 volts, and lithium batteries need to stay under 14.4 volts. Here's where things get more technical with installation mistakes that most mechanics don't even consider. Mistake 6. Installing batteries without proper ventilation. Battery venting is one of those invisible dangers that most riders never think about until something catastrophic happens. Even sealed AGM batteries produce hydrogen gas during charging, especially if overcharged, and this gas is highly explosive at concentrations as low as 4% in air. Most battery boxes have small vent tubes that route gases away, but riders either don't connect these tubes during installation or route them incorrectly, creating explosion hazards under the seat. The Yuasa Battery Company documented 17 battery explosions in a single year from improper venting, most occurring when riders use jumper cables with the seat closed. The vent tube should always route downward and away from the ignition sources, which means not near the exhaust or electrical connections. For touring bikes with batteries under the seat, like many BMWs and Hondas, the confined space allows hydrogen concentrations to build quickly, making proper venting absolutely critical for safety. Let me tell you about the fluid mistake that's destroying conventional batteries faster than anything else. Mistake 7. Ignoring electrolyte levels in conventional batteries. For those still running conventional flooded batteries, not checking electrolyte levels is volunteering to buy a new battery every 18 months. When electrolyte drops below the top of the lead plate, those exposed sections immediately sulfate and oxidize, creating permanent dead zones that can't be recovered, even if you add distilled water later. Electrolyte loss happens through electrolysis during normal charging, where water molecules break down into hydrogen and oxygen gas. Most conventional batteries, like the Yuasa YB series, need checking every 3,000 miles or 3 months, but 90% of riders never pull those vent caps. The proper level should be a 1/4 inch above the plates. You must use distilled water only, never tap water, because minerals react with sulfuric acid to form sediment that eventually causes internal short circuits. Battery manufacturers have pushed so hard towards maintenance-free AGM batteries that they've stopped educating riders about flooded battery maintenance. A properly maintained conventional battery can outlast a neglected AGM while costing half as much. Now, here's a mistake that's particularly relevant for riders with multiple bikes or custom electrical systems. Mistake 8. Mixing battery types in dual battery setups. This mistake is less common, but absolutely catastrophic when it happens. Usually on touring bikes with auxiliary batteries or custom dual battery systems. When you parallel two batteries together, they need to be identical in chemistry, age, and state of charge, or the stronger battery will constantly try to charge the weaker one, killing both prematurely. When batteries connect in parallel, they equalize to the same voltage, but if one has higher internal resistance due to age or different chemistry, it draws current from the other even when the bike isn't running. I've seen riders install a new AGM battery alongside a 3-year-old conventional battery on their Goldwing, and within weeks, both batteries are toast. The internal resistance difference is even more dramatic mixing lithium with lead acid because lithium batteries have internal resistance as low as 0.5 milliohms, while aged lead acid can be at 15 milliohms. The proper approach requires identical specifications, preferably from the same manufacturing batch, replacing both simultaneously when one fails. Here's a warning sign that most riders completely miss until it's too late. Mistake 9. Dismissing slow cranking as normal. That sluggish starter cranking isn't something you get used to. It's your bike screaming that the battery's dying, and ignoring it leads to being stranded. Most riders rationalize slow cranking with excuses like cold weather or old starter. But healthy batteries should spin your engine at 200 or 300 RPM regardless of conditions. The cranking speed is directly related to the battery's cold cranking amp rates. A battery rated for 200 cca should deliver that current for 30 seconds at 0 degrees Fahrenheit while maintaining at least 7.2 volts across the terminals. But as sulfation builds up, that capability drops dramatically. The degradation happens gradually enough that your brain adjusts, so you don't notice your starter going from brisk to barely turning over. The technical measurement that matters is cranking voltage. If it drops below 10 volts while cranking, your battery has failed even if it starts the bike. Many mechanics load test based on 10-second tests that don't reveal gradual capacity loss. Let's discuss a mechanical oversight that's causing vibration damage you can't even see. Mistake 10. Failing to secure batteries properly. Battery hold downs aren't decorative hardware. They're engineering solutions to prevent vibration damage that can crack battery cases and short out internal plates within months. Motorcycle engines produce vibrations at 20 to 100 hertz. Depending on RPM, and an unsecured battery becomes a 12-pound mass oscillating violently inside your bike's frame. Each vibration cycle causes microscopic movements between the battery plates and separators, gradually wearing through the separator material until plates make contact and short circuit. I've seen batteries develop internal shorts after just 5,000 miles with a loose hold down, whereas a properly secured battery can last 50,000 miles. Whether it's a metal strap, rubber band, or bolt-down bracket, it needs to be tight enough that you can't move the battery by hand, but not so tight it distorts the case. Over-tightening hold-down bolts can crack the battery case, especially on AGM batteries where the case is thinner than conventional batteries. Here's a charging method that seems logical, but's actually destroying your battery's longevity. Mistake 11. Quick charging to get back on the road. We've all been there. You need to ride somewhere. The battery's dead, so you hook up a high current charger to get a quick boost. This desperate move is shaving years off your battery's lifespan through grid corrosion that accelerates exponentially with charging rate. When you force high current into a battery, the chemical reactions at the lead plates happen so violently that the lead dioxide positive plates begin shedding active material. The optimal charging rate for maximum battery life is C10, meaning you divide the amp hour capacity by 10. So for a 14 amp battery, that's 1.4 amps over 10 hours. Emergency charging typically happens at 6 to 10 amps, nearly 10 times faster than designed. The electrolyte temperature rises because the chemical reactions are exothermic, and for every 10 degrees Celsius increase, grid corrosion doubles. If you absolutely must quick charge, limit it to twice per year and immediately follow with a slow charge cycle. Finally, let's talk about the storage mistake that's probably costing you the most money. Mistake 12. Leaving batteries connected during long-term storage. The absolute worst thing you can do during extended storage is leave your battery connected to the bike's electrical system. Yet, this is exactly what most riders do when they park for the winter. Modern motorcycles have dozens of electronic modules that draw parasitic current even when the ignition is completely off, including security systems, fuel injection computers, clock, and radio memory. This drain typically ranges from 25 to 200 milliamps depending on your bike's complexity. And over a 3-month storage period, that's enough to completely discharge a battery. The damage happens because a discharged battery sitting at low voltage allows sulfation to advance unchecked. And by spraying, you got a battery that might take a charge, but's lost 50% of its original capacity. The proper procedure requires disconnecting the negative terminal first, then the positive terminal, and storing where temperature stays between 32 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Battery chemistry slows at cold temperatures, but doesn't stop completely. So there you have it, 12 battery-killing mistakes that most riders make without realizing the long-term damage they're causing. The reality is that batteries remain one of the most neglected components on motorcycles despite being absolutely critical to every ride. If you implement even half of these corrections, you'll easily double your battery lifespan and avoid those frustrating no-start situations that ruin perfect riding days. I got a video on choosing the right battery for your specific bike that'll complement everything we discussed today, so definitely click the link in the description to watch that one next. If this video helped you understand your battery better, smash that subscribe button and check out our other technical deep dives where we break down the mechanical and electrical systems that'll keep your bike running strong.